welcome back to Blooms and Bicycles. As we now cycle into the early part of summertime, it's so exciting when we pedal past the peonies, which are now in their prime once again. With other summer flowers chosen for their complementing tones that harmonise perfectly with these perfume-filled flower cups, an eclectic mix of stems creates an overall summer burst in a multitude of bright, joyful colours, nodding to the abundances Mother Nature graces our lands with as we cycle through these warmer months. Today we're going to talk you through how to construct the Peony Perfumes medium letterbox flowers. So first of all, we'll add our flower feed to the water, and we'll add just half a sachet. This just helps stop bacteria from growing in the water, which contributes to the longevity of your flowers. So if we just give this a stir up with one of our stems. In 2 to 3 days time, if you wish to change out the water, just gently lift the flowers out of the vase, trying to keep them in the position you've created. Wash out your vase thoroughly, change the water, and then add the rest of the sachet. You can then also run the stems under a running cold tap to get rid of any biofilm. And sometimes also what you do find is that the flower stems will start to go mushy at the very bottom when they're left to stand in the water for a while. Therefore, if you want to, you can also trim away 1/2 centimetre off the bottom of every stem, and this just ensures that the flower can continue to take in all of the water and nutrients that it needs. Altogether, if you do each of those steps, you will contribute drastically to the lifespan of the display. So to begin with, we'll create our grid using the most sturdy of stems, this being the dried cherry blossom branch and the eucalyptus, along with the salal. So first we'll add the salal. This has a number of offshoots, which gives it a lot of spring and creates a lot of volume. So we'll put this in the middle, where we want the central part of the grid to be. Next we'll add in the eucalyptus, which has a natural curve to it and makes it a nice centerpiece if positioned towards the front of the vase. And then finally we'll take our dried cherry blossom branch and position this towards the back, creating a cross-like formation. In terms of long flower stems in this design, we have Bouvardia, the Matthiola, the rice flower, and the Nigella. So I think it's actually quite nice to start with the Nigella in this design by adding this into the center area of the grid. So just keep having a play around until it sits in the position you're happy with. Next we'll take the Bouvardia and the rice flower, and we'll position these off to the left and right to create some balance. Then we'll take our Matthiola and we'll position this in front of the Nigella. The Matthiola can be trimmed to sit slightly shorter than the Nigella, which helps just start to create lots of different points of interest throughout the design. And taking full advantage of these long sweeping heaven-scented blooms, this collection is designed to incorporate 3 different peony varieties. So first we'll take the coral coloured one, and we'll use this to create some counterbalance in comparison to the Bouvardia. And we'll do that by placing it towards the front on the opposite side. Next we'll take one of our softer pink varieties of peonies, and we'll just tease open some of these beautiful petals, which will then start to actually fall in their own way because it becomes like a snowflake or like a star. And then we'll just position this towards the front, because I think that is well worthy of becoming a star of the show. Now what we did originally was position the Matthiola to the front, but given the natural lean of this peony, given the weight of its flower head I suppose, I think it's probably best to switch out the Matthiola and allow that peony to lean as it wants to at the very front. Because the Matthiola is a tall candle-shaped flower, this will still benefit from being towards the back of the display. And as we always say, it doesn't matter if the flower stems don't go to the very bottom of the vase. Do take full advantage of the grid and allow the stems to sit exactly where you want them so that you get the varying heights. Then we'll take our final pastel pink peony and we'll create a triangle formation in relation to the 2 points created by the other 2 peonies. So as you can see, these 2 peonies sit rather low and towards the front of the display. So to create that triangle, we'll keep the stem of this final peony relatively longer and we'll create a place for it so it sits more upright and more towards the middle of the design. Also, when you take a step back, you can see things from a very different perspective, which might change your mind on the way you want things to be. So now that I've just taken a step back from the front of this vase, I've decided that actually I'd like the triangle of the peonies to sit a lot wider. So therefore, what we will do is we'll leave one of the soft pink ones sweeping off to the left, bring the coral one to sit more upright yet centrally, and then we'll bring the other pale pink peony to sweep off to the opposite side of the other one. Then I think what we'll do is we'll use the Bouvardia to balance out the impact of colour created by the coral peony, positioning it towards the back. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned with the coral peony, just roughly. Now with the rice flower, we'll take another step back before we add it back in. What's looking very nice now is the fact that the Nigella has started to lean off towards one side and the Matthiola is starting to lean towards the other side. So we'll try and fill the void on the other side to create a balance in that respect again. I think what we'll need to do is just trim the rice flower down further, and then we can actually sit this in the grid at a more horizontal angle, and we'll twirl this around so you can see. I think this is pretty balanced now. So we'll just take our finishing touch of the violet sweet pea, which is always best to add at the end, being so delicate. So thinking about where best to place this. So again, because it's all about creating balance, I think actually it's quite nice for the sweet pea to be positioned on the opposite side so that there's an equal amount of stems and an equal amount of things going on to mirror what's happening with the Nigella. And there you have it, the Peony Perfumes medium letterbox flowers. I hope you enjoy.